An inmate who made headlines around the globe for having sex with a guard has been attacked in prison. I'll tell you what we know about the attack on Linton Weirich and how his young daughter was also hurt. Welcome to Crime Fix. I'm Angenette Levy. You might not know the name Linton Weirich, but you probably heard about the case he was very much a part of in the UK. And you're not going to believe it when I tell you what happened to him and his little baby in a prison. Weirich made headlines after he had sex with a prison guard at the notorious HMP Wandsworth Prison in southwest London. Another inmate was recording as Weirich had sex with Linda De Sousa Abreu. I told you about the case last year when De Sousa Abreu pleaded guilty. When the story first broke, the guard, who ran an OnlyFans account, seemed appalled that somebody accused her of making money off of the incident.
First thing being, there has been a lot, and I mean a lot, a tremendous amount of fake profiles of me that have been monetizing off of my misfortune, this scandal that the entire world has somehow managed to be involved in. I have not monetized one bit at all. This is my only social media platform and I only just activated it again. So if you do come across fake profiles of me asking for money, please don't fall for it. There's been a lot.
De Sousa Abreu followed up by saying that she wanted people to look out for people impersonating her and trying to cash in.
I thought it very important for me to address this very distasteful subject of OnlyFans creators impersonating and pretending to be me and recreating the scenario of said scandal, which I am involved in. Very, very distasteful for you to monetize or advertise yourselves as me for OF content. It does interfere with my trial, but furthermore, it is incredibly distasteful. Please, if you are an OF creator, refrain from tagging said prison. We all know the name of the prison. Please refrain from tagging HMP Wandsworth on your stupid videos. There are other jails in the world. You don't have to pretend to be me. It's very distasteful.
De Sousa Abreu held her head high when she went to court last August and pleaded guilty to misconduct in public office. As she was sentenced recently, the judge recounted what was on that video that went viral.
The recording lasts some 4.5 minutes, during which you gave the prisoner oral sex, then vaginal intercourse in a number of positions, before concluding by giving him more oral sex. You participated with evident enthusiasm. The second prisoner recorded events and provided a commentary by way of encouragement, including saying, "Guys, we made history. This is how we live at Wandsworth, bruv. And you know you are a gangster."
And get this, the judge said De Sousa Abreu admitted to having sex with the inmate more than once.
You have asked for 2 other offences of misconduct in a public office to be taken into consideration. One was performing oral sex on the same prisoner on a separate occasion on the same day, an event partly recorded by accident on your prison-issue body-worn camera. The other was a previous occasion of sexual intercourse with the same prisoner.
Unbelievable. Her body camera came on by accident, he said, and recorded it. Linton Weirich, who was serving time for breaking into a home, was moved to the Swalesdale prison after the video went viral. There were videos of him on TikTok from before his incarceration, and he's a pretty fit guy. But this wasn't a fist fight or something like that. The Telegraph reports Weirich was assaulted on December 18th when his girlfriend visited him at the prison, and Weirich was actually holding his 3-month-old baby in a visiting area. Weirich, according to the site, fell and suffered head injuries, and the baby suffered a skull fracture because Weirich fell on top of the baby since he was holding the baby. Kent police confirmed to the Telegraph that an assault happened at the prison and that they were investigating, but wouldn't say much more or identify Weirich as the victim. I want to tell you about Upside. It's a free app that gets you cash back on things like gas, groceries, and restaurants. This is real cash back. It's money that appears in your Upside app that you can transfer straight into your bank account. I've used Upside many times at Dunkin' Donuts when I needed a cup of coffee or tea. I claim an offer for Dunkin' on the app. I pay as usual, follow the steps, and I get cash back. It's really, really easy. You can also use Upside at places like Shell, Exxon, 7-Eleven, Taco Bell, Bell, and that's just to name a few. To find out how much you could earn, click the link in the description to download Upside or scan the QR code on your screen and use our promo code CrimeFix to get an extra 25 cents back on every gallon on your first tank of gas. That's promo code CrimeFix for extra cash back. I want to bring in Justin Paperny to talk about all of this. He's a prison consultant. Justin, let's start with the sex in the prison. Let's go chronologically with all of this. Linton Weirich had sex with this prison guard. The judge in the sentencing hearing said it wasn't just once. It was like 3 times at least. That's what she admitted to. So how common is it that prison guards are having sex with inmates?
It's pretty common. Once a week in America, a guard is getting arrested for some conduct. When I was in a minimum security camp 15 years ago, there was some issues with a nurse and a guard sleeping with some prisoners. So it's pretty common, unfortunately. Most do a great job, but there are some anomalies. The problem here is this video went viral, and the brand damage to the prison, together with the heightened security, has created so many problems, not just for the prison guard who's doing 15 months, now for this prisoner who is enduring some of that fallout. So I'm kind of ashamed to say it's more common than people think.
Wow. More common than people think. It just sounds kind of icky because, as a prison guard, you are supposed to be overseeing everybody, ensuring that people are safe, ensuring that maybe there's not, hijinks going on in the prison. You are compromised. You do compromise yourself and put yourself in a really horrible position when you do something like this. And the judge noted it. So, I don't know how you fix this problem.
Well, you have to recognize it's hard to hire in corrections. That's not an excuse, but we have to embrace that. We don't pay these correction officers a ton of money. Correction prisons want more money for training. We want more money for re-education and preparing prisoners to go home. But if the tone at the top isn't set, and if there isn't appropriate protocol and consequence, these things unfortunately are going to happen. And in so doing, what she has done is created a riskier or unsafe environment for other guards, primarily the female prison guards, which is something the judge justified in giving her a federal prison sentence. They could be manipulated. Other prisoners can see this as opportunity to exploit and take advantage. So the lion's share of correctional officers, I know because we have worked with so many, do a great job. It's these examples that make it harder for everyone. They bring scrutiny, and it brings more attention to these prisons that are just ill-equipped to manage these crises. So you need a better tone at the top, more accountability, better training, both for prisoners and staff. It is not normal. I've been to prison. It is not normal to both live in that environment, but also to work there. And I think we have to embrace that as we try to create a better system of corrections.
They also need better screening. I mean, this is, obviously this is a problem not just in the United States. I mean, this case is over in the UK. So they said the prisons realize they need better screening. They don't really want prison guards who have OnlyFans accounts. Plus, this is somebody who really was liking attention. She had been on a television show, that type of thing. So you just mentioned it's not easy to get people to do these jobs. I mean, they don't pay a lot. Why she was wanting to do this job, I don't know. But better screening is probably part of this whole thing as well.
Better screening, perhaps paying more if possible, but there should be sufficient training before someone steps on the job for the first day. And that should include, what are some of your tendencies as a human being? Are you sympathetic to people who are in prison? It's partly why they argue I can never be on a jury in prison. They just presume I'm going to acquit. I can't see it objectively. So you need to understand the mannerisms, the tendencies, the idiosyncrasies to the extent that you can of people you are hiring. Then there needs to be surveillance. Then there needs to be follow-up. Then there needs to be continued training. Then if there are breakdowns in processes, there needs to be accountability. And until that happens, we're going to continue to see these isolated incidents that embarrass the prison, bring terrible reputational damage, make it more violent for staff. And really what prisons care about around the world is keeping costs down and security of the institution. This doesn't do either because it brings more litigation, perhaps more training, which costs money. So if someone's going to work in corrections before they step onto that prison compound for the first day, they should have gone through extensive training, and it has to continue, which is what so many Fortune 500 companies in America do. You get trained and you continue to train. If we have officers overseeing prisoners, it should be no different. If anything, it's almost more important, because if you don't have the proper training, you see what happens. Total anarchy, total breakdowns, and people like you and me talk about these cases and ask, how can we do better? Starts with a good tone at the top and appropriate training.
So let's move on to, the other kind of person who starred in this video, Linton Weirich. They moved him, not surprisingly, from the Wandsworth prison to the Swalesdale prison after this whole thing happened. I mean, first of all, why would they move him? Is it because he became, too notorious in that prison for misbehaving? I mean, why move him from where he was when she's been removed from the equation?
If someone were anywhere around the world, any prison, if you engage in a disciplinary infraction or do something wrong, there are consequences. That could be time in the hole, losing good time, getting transferred, the uncomfortable experience of transit. But the prison doesn't want any more, they don't want any more eyes on it. So part of the ways they can remove the eyes is say, get this dude out of here, let somebody else deal with him. Sometimes it's to a higher security prison, but there is so much attention and who is that guy? Someone surrenders to the prison. What's the first thing they're going to say? I saw that guy in Law&Crime. He went viral. They're going to seek him out. So to the extent the prison can remove that problem, they just transfer you. And that's very common here in America too. A crying mother called 3 days ago. Her son got caught with an iPhone. They are shipping him from California all the way across the country to Alabama. They just want to remove the problem as best they can, start over somewhere else.
Wow. Okay. So that brings us then to December 18th. Linton Weirich, according to the reporting, is with his baby, a 3-month-old, and his girlfriend in a visiting area. He's holding the baby. Someone attacks him and he falls. He suffers a head injury. And then the baby suffers a skull fracture because he falls on the baby. So this is a violent assault. Kent police aren't saying for sure it's him, but the reporting out there is that it is indeed him. And the Kent police are investigating this. So did that whole thing, we don't know much about the investigation other than they have a suspect or suspects and they're investigating. Did this potentially make him a target? And how on earth, getting attacked in a visitation area seems crazy to me. And you would think they would have video cameras in there. They would know who did this by now.
There is no doubt the only reason he was attacked is because of this conduct. That conduct can lead to people admiring him, prisoners liking him, lionizing him. It could also lead to those saying, we loathe this guy because we had our routine. He has disrupted it. There's more security and eyes on us because this person engaged in this conduct, and now he's in this prison. He has disrupted our routine. More scrutiny, more eyes on him. And some people don't like that. Also, prison is a very violent environment. It's a predatory environment. So someone could be bored. They might not care about their release date. They might not even have a release date. So to create some excitement, perhaps for people like you and me and others to talk about it, they say, I'm just going to go rogue. I'm going to injure him. I'm going to make an example of him so other people know what happens if you create a mess and bring it to this prison. So they are sending a signal, so to speak. And I know in retrospect, he would do everything differently. I hope he would. I don't know. But there is no doubt, no question, they made an example out of him. I will say, even in a minimum security camp where I served time, one time a guy didn't clean the microwave good enough. The correctional officers took the microwaves away for a week. This dude went back to his dorm, to his cubicle, to his bunk. There were feces, there were urine. It was awful, all to make an example out of him because he made it harder for everyone else on the inside. That's exactly what happened here.
Yikes. But injuring the baby, that seems to be taking things, who knows if that was intentional, but you're attacking somebody holding a baby. I don't know all of the rules of what goes on in prisons, but that seems to me possibly to be something that would be kind of frowned upon. I don't know. What are the ethics of all of this behind bars in prison?
Certainly there's written and unwritten rules. I would argue if he was even considering that, we know his primary focus was probably this guy who engaged in this sex tape. And if there were some collateral consequences, in this case, the baby, as tragic as it is, in his mind, he probably wasn't considering that. And depending on why he's serving time and how long, and if he has this criminogenic mindset of not even having any concern for any other people, lacking empathy, he might not even care and say, this is the consequence of bringing more attention to this prison. You should have thought about that before you brought more attention to me and disrupting my prison routine. But I would agree, I don't think the intentions were to hurt the baby. It was simply to make an example out of him. There's been terrible fallout. And of course, much like the prison guard who's serving time in 15 months, her children and family will suffer. Now we have this person who engaged in this sex act with her. Now the children are suffering as well. It's a tragic experience, and I just hope it never happens again.
We assume charges will eventually be filed against, the person or persons who did this, who carried out the attack. How does Linton Weirich go back to this prison? Or do they move? I guess they move the prisoner who committed the attack, because that's going to be a disciplinary infraction plus criminal charges that they'll likely file against this person. So, yikes! I don't know how you put this guy back in this prison. Do you just move him again, or what goes on?
Several things could happen. If he's injured and hurt, he may have to go to a medical facility. Depending on how much time he has left on his sentence, his lawyer should argue there's nowhere that can house him right now. Please move him to house arrest so he can finish his sentence. The prison can't protect him. They are unable to take care of him. So an option could be releasing him home. If he's in a medical spot, there will be more scrutiny there as he gets treatment from this injury. Or he could just remain isolated. Bankman-Fried, Diddy, Luigi, others who are high profile. The prison system does not want problems. We know what happened with Epstein. So there is a chance if he remains in prison, they say, sorry, my man, you are too great a risk to the prison. You are creating too many problems. You're going to remain in isolation 23, 24 hours a day until this ends. And that would be devastating for him. And it goes all the way back to the consequences and engagement that he engaged in. He would do it all differently if he could, I'm sure. But he just may remain in total isolation and lockdown until he's free.
Wow. Well, we will keep an eye on it and see if charges are eventually filed in this case. We think they will be. So, Justin Paperny, thank you so much.
Good to see you.
And that's it for this episode of Crime Fix. I'm Angenette Levy. Thanks so much for being with me. I'll see you back here next time.